Hey guys, insight number 4. I just realised the last one cut me off. I said we're going to go over to Mark, and then it cut off. And I'm like, oh, we're going to go over to Mark. Same chapter, but later in the chapter. Mark 10, 46 to 52. So, sorry guys. The other one was Mark 10 as well. So we're just later in the chapters. I was like, that was the sentence, but it cut off. Anyway, alright, so 46 to 52. Now this is probably, again, the better description of this event, although this event is recorded in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. So I picked this particular one because I thought it gave the name of the guy, which I liked. It just seemed to have more in it. So this is, again, an actual story. So this is when they're coming out of Jericho. So you see in Mark chapter 11 is the triumphal entry into, like, the beginning of, it's the Palm Sunday, where he comes in, he rides into Jerusalem, and there's like, palm leaves and everything. That's the welcome. That happens. So we've got maybe one more week study of some other verses, other chapters that give some advice that happened before that. But then we'll see that. So there's a very compact time where these things are happening, because it's only about a week-ish from raising Lazarus to Holy Week. So this is in the between. So this is on the outskirts of Jerusalem, the towns where he's just sort of teaching a few little things. Not little, they're big things that we need to know. So anyway, when they came to Jericho, and as he went out of Jericho with the disciples and a great number of people, blind Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus, sat by the highway side begging. So they even, like, people knew who this guy was. Oh yeah, that's blind Bart begging again. So probably a lot of people didn't like him. This guy was bold, and I like that about him. I like that he was bold. So he heard, because you remember he's blind, he can't see. He couldn't see Jesus coming, but he heard that he was coming by. So he just started to cry out. And this is in verse 47, you see. He began to cry out and say, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And many charged him like, no, look, Jesus is passing by. We should give him reverence. Quiet, quiet. But then it says, but then he cried a great deal, a great deal. Thou son of David, have mercy on me. So he didn't, be quiet. He did it louder and more. And I'm like, yeah, this is my kind of guy. And Jesus stood still and commanded him to be called. And they called the blind man, saying unto him, be of good comfort, rise. He calleth thee. He's heard that you're calling him, because he's passing by, not like right by him. He's heard that you're calling him. He's seen the commotion that's going on and says, okay, bring him here. And he, casting away his garment, rose and came to Jesus. Now, he didn't throw off his clothes. He just threw off, what would have been his cloak or his blanket that was sitting, to keep him warm on the side of the road, or sheltered from the sun, whatever the case was on the day. So don't think that. He just put that off and went to Jesus. So he can walk fine. He had someone to lead him there. And Jesus answered and said unto him, what wilt that I do unto thee? And the blind man said unto him, Lord, that I might receive my sight. And Jesus saith unto him, go thy way, thy faith hath made thee whole. And immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus in the way. So that's the story of what happened. But what can we learn from this? So, cry out to Christ, don't let yourself be hushed. Because the hushing happens in one of the other books. They talk about, they tried to hush him. People here tried to tell him to be quiet. So found in all 3 Gospels that we study this week, this miracle teaches us to cry out to Christ. This man who couldn't see where Christ was only knew he was passing by. So despite many telling him to be quiet, he only called out louder. And I'm like, yeah. This led to the restoration of his sight. This got the answer and the thing that he was wanting. This got the miracle he wanted because he cried out and he would not be told to be quiet. And I think there's a lot of historical figures that we could probably name that have done this. They've cried out to God, help us, help us, help us, help us do this. And they get heard. And people have said, oh, don't pray for that. No, it's wrong to ask God for that, blah, 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 whatever. And they've gone, no, and we're going to do it more and louder. And I'm just like, yeah, those are my people right there. The ones who are bold and brave and go with full everything to God. They do not hold back. Those are my people. So how can we do this better? How often do we hush ourselves? Think about that. How often do we say to ourselves, I won't talk about Heavenly Father to that. How often do we hush ourselves? Don't do that. Go bold. Often we lose spiritual sight and need guidance. Healings help, but the Lord is near. Cry out. Don't be hushed by yourself or others. Because these days, not so many other people will hush you, but you probably are hushing yourself. So don't do that. Go bold. Be brave. Ask for the moon. Are you going to get it? Probably not. But you will be blessed. And things will be made good for you in the way that is best for you. I absolutely know that to be true. And I love that in 2 Nephi 33, and this is Nephi's kind of parting words. It's like his parting teachings, if you will. He actually says some really good part, like the whole verse is really, really good, but the final line of it I love. He just says, I cry unto my God in faith, and I know that he will hear my cry. And that's Nephi. And I'm just like, yeah, because Nephi is one of my people too. He went bold. He went big. He didn't get hushed. He's like, no, I'm standing for this, and none of you guys are going to tell me otherwise. I'm going to pray for this, and, you know, I'm going to build a boat. And they're like, what? You're crazy. And he's like, God said I could do it. I'm like, yep, my kind of man. So, yeah, that's where I love that. And maybe you're not in that, and that's okay. It's totally okay, because the people that are, we get a lot of weird looks. But honestly, be brave in your personal prayers. If you don't feel like doing it elsewhere, that's fine. Do it in your personal prayers. No one's going to hear that but God. Fine. Just do that. Be bold, be brave, go in with everything, lay it all out, ask for the biggest thing. It doesn't mean you're going to get it, and it doesn't mean that it's going to happen right away and all of that, but do it. Just ask what you need completely. If you need complete healing, ask for complete healing. Stop with phrases like, if you can. You're talking to God. If you can? Of course he can. Doesn't mean he's going to, but he can. So maybe like, if it is your will, or I feel I really need this, what do you think is best? Do what is best and help me to see that it's best. Those kind of things. Really think about your wording, because it's important. Anyway, we can do that. But I just really like that part from Nephi. I cry unto my God in faith, and I know that he will hear my cry. So go look at 2 Nephi 33:3, one of the easiest references to ever remember, 2 Nephi 33:3, and read the whole thing. Actually, the whole of chapter 33 is really lovely, but verse 3 is just such a beautiful, powerful testimony from Nephi about his experience in crying out to the Lord, praying to Heavenly Father, and knowing that they hear him. And I know they hear me, and I know they hear you. So don't let yourself be hushed, especially by yourself. All right, this man didn't. He got the miracle. Right, one last one will be in Matthew. I'm going to cut it off this time. Matthew 21-17, and I shall see you there. It's a familiar parable, I'm sure.